Hey guys, and welcome to City Geek. Today we'll be talking about one of my favorite mid-sized cities in the country, Colorado Springs. I used to visit the city frequently to see family, and I think it's a very underrated city. In this series, I quickly touch on a city's history, population, skyline, as well as a few things that make it unique. Now let's meet Colorado Springs. I always like to start by exploring how a city wound up being where it is today. Some of the earliest inhabitants of the area were the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes who gathered near the abundant springs at the base of Pikes Peak. In 1859, Colorado City became the first settlement in the region with the role of being a supply camp for traveling miners. The person who really put the region on the map, though, was the Pennsylvanian Civil War hero, General William Jackson Palmer. He purchased the land for Colorado Springs in 1871 with the intention of making it a resort town. He opened the Antlers Hotel, and soon the town was nicknamed Little London for its popularity with English tourists. He also founded the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad, which contributed to the city's growth. In the 1890s, gold was discovered on the slope of Pikes Peak, which led to a huge boom in the area's population, and Colorado Springs gained the nickname of City of Millionaires. Today, Colorado Springs has a population just under 490,000 people, making it the second largest city in the state of Colorado and the 39th largest in the country. The metro area has a population of 755,000, which is similar in size to that of Boise, Idaho, and Little Rock, Arkansas. The largest employer in the area is the U.S. military, which has 2 Air Force bases, an Army base, and the incredible United States Air Force Academy, which I'll talk more about later. My favorite thing to evaluate about cities are their skylines, and unfortunately for me, Colorado Springs doesn't really have one for me to really talk about. Most people wouldn't complain about the lack of tall buildings in a city like Colorado Springs, though, because of the breathtaking natural beauty surrounding the city that a tall skyscraper could potentially block. If you took the average height of the tallest 5 buildings, you'd get 188 feet, which is roughly the same as what you'd get for Lubbock, Texas. Not unlike many cities throughout the country, the tallest building is named the Wells Fargo Tower and is 247 feet tall. When it comes to unique aspects of Colorado Springs, I have to start with the big one, Pikes Peak. The massive mountain is nicknamed America's Mountain in part because it inspired America the Beautiful to be written. The peak is at an elevation of 14,115 feet and is the furthest east of all of the 14,000-foot tall mountains, or 14ers, within the Rocky Mountains. The world's highest and longest cog railroad takes visitors to the top of the peak, but if that makes you nervous, you can drive a car to the top. As I mentioned earlier, the United States Air Force Academy is located in Colorado Springs. The academy is beautiful and is one of the most visited tourist attractions in Colorado. The most iconic landmark of the academy is the Cadet Chapel, which has 17 spires and can host 5 different religious services at once. I used to visit quite often when my uncle attended the academy, and I think there really is no place quite like it. Colorado Springs is home to the U.S. Olympic Training Center. It's the flagship training facility for U.S. Olympians, and it can host 500 athletes or coaches at a time. Given Colorado Springs' high elevation, it makes sense that the Olympic Training Center would be here as a great place for athletes to train. One of the country's most famous historic hotels is the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. The Broadmoor opened in 1918 and has earned a reputation as being one of the best hotels in the world. The person who built the Broadmoor is Spencer Penrose, who is actually entombed in a medieval tower sitting on the mountainside above the city. The 100-foot tall tower is called the Will Rogers Shrine of the Sun, and you can see the tower from nearly anywhere in the metro area. At the base of Pikes Peak, there's a collection of red rocks jutting out of the ground, which is known as the Garden of the Gods. The area is breathtaking and was one of my favorite places to visit in the Colorado Springs area. It's considered a National Natural Landmark. Well, that does it for my overview video of Colorado Springs. If you enjoyed the video, check out some of my other videos about cities. Thanks for watching.